Welcome back to Madman Review. Buckle up, as we're about to dive into the mind-blowing world of prison ingenuity. You won't believe the MacGyver level stuff some inmates are able to whip up, from various types of shivs to DIY rimfire caliber handguns and even dual-purpose shotguns. It's a wild ride. If you're curious about how far human creativity can go when you can mix in a pinch of desperation and a dash of rebellion, you've come to the right place. Get ready to be amazed or at least seriously bewildered as we present 8 of the craziest improvised weapons built in prison. Number 8, toilet paper shiv. So you think of toilet paper and you're probably picturing, well, bathroom stuff. But in prison, it's like an arts and crafts class on steroids. Believe it or not, some inmates turn toilet paper into shivs. Interesting, isn't it? Here's how the magic, or should I say mischief, happens. Take a ton of toilet paper, get it all wet and mushy, and start packing it super tight. I mean, seriously smush it down. Let it dry, repeat the process, and voila! After some time and some crafty shaping, you've got something that's as hard as wood and sharp enough to do some damage. But don't stop there. You could use glue to make the edges even harder, especially if you want to sharpen it. Granted, it won't ever be as sharp as a steel knife, but inmates know just when and which body part to strike, which makes this piece of paper weaponry deadly. Now, you might be thinking, why toilet paper? Well, when you're behind bars, you work with what you've got. Let's be real, there's plenty of toilet paper to go around. It's kind of wild to think about it. Something as soft and harmless as toilet paper getting turned into a weapon gives a whole new meaning to watch your back, huh? As a concept, this toilet paper shank sure proves just how clever folks can get when they're in a bind. Prisons are already on high alert with the usual suspects like Toothbrush shivs, but now they've got to keep an eye on those rolls of Skillcraft toilet tissue too. Man, what a world. Number 7, Toothbrush shiv. Speaking of toothbrush shivs, let's chat about them. Yep, it's fashioned from something most of us use every day. The toothbrush. For you and me, it's just about keeping those pearly whites shining. But in prison, that trusty toothbrush can transform into something straight out of a suspense thriller movie. Here's the lowdown. In the slammer, some inmates will take that plastic toothbrush and scrape it against concrete walls or the rough prison floors. Over time, that sucker gets whittled down into a pointed, sharp weapon. Just like that, their morning dental routine tool turns into a mini spear. Wild, right? In prison, creativity is king, and when life gives you toothbrushes, some folks make, well, not lemonade, but you get the drift. It's kind of crazy realizing something as innocent as a toothbrush can get a plot twist like that. Prisons got onto this DIY weapon trend and started handing out shorter brushes or ones that are harder to sharpen. But you know, when there's a will, there's a way. It goes to show that sometimes danger hides in the most mundane places. So next time you brush, just remember somewhere it's someone's mini dagger. Number 6, chicken wire glass shiv. Oh, and if you thought toothbrush shivs sounded weird, you probably haven't heard of shivs made of chicken wire glass. Something you might have glanced at, but never really thought twice about. It's that funky-looking glass with a mesh of wire inside. Looks kinda cool, right? But in prison, this ain't just window decor. Some folks look at it and think, shiv material. Seriously, prison ingenuity is next level. Here's the deal. Chicken wire glass is usually all about safety. If the glass breaks, that wire mesh holds the shards together. But some inmates, they see an opportunity. They'll break off a piece, and because of that wire, they've got themselves a sturdy little shank with some extra grip, thanks to the wire. It's kind of like upgrading from a basic shiv made of glass shard. You might wonder why even have that kind of glass in prison. Well, it's often used because it's tougher to break through, especially during escape attempts. Irony? Definitely. Using a safety feature as a weapon, that's some top-tier irony right there. Of course, prison folks have caught on and there's been a shift to even safer materials, but man, it makes you think it's Wild how stuff designed for safety can turn 180 and become a threat, so next time you pass by some chicken wire glass, give it a nod of respect. That glass has layers, and I ain't just talking about wire and shards. Number 5, 22 caliber knuckle duster zip gun. Alright, we've talked about 3 types of shivs, and I'm getting tired of them now, so let's talk about guns in prison. Ever flipped through those crime docs and come across something called a 22 caliber knuckle duster zip gun? Sounds like a mouthful, right? Well, in prison, this bad boy is the MacGyver level masterpiece of homemade weaponry. Surely, it's like combining a brass knuckle with a little pop gun, all created from spare parts and sheer willpower. Here's how it breaks down. A zip gun is like the DIY punk rock version of a firearm, made from random scraps, tubes, rubber bands, and a bit of innovation. Now, pair that with a knuckle duster, which is basically a brass knuckle with attitude, and voila, you've got a weapon that not only packs a punch, but can fire off a sneaky 22 round. You might be wondering, how in the world do inmates get their hands on this stuff? It's all about creativity. Bits of metal, repurposed materials, and a whole lot of sneaky ingenuity. If there's a will in prison, then yeah, there's a way. Prison guards are always on the hunt for contraband, but this 22 caliber knuckle duster zip gun is like the unicorn of jailhouse crafts. It's rare, but when it pops up, it's legendary. So next time you're watching a crime doc and this pops up, just remember prison ain't just about doing time. For some, it's like an evil inventor's workshop. Number 4, 22 caliber staple gun. If you've ever marveled at the creativity of some of the world's notorious inmates, prepare to be blown away. Folsom State Prison in California has an entry that'll make your head spin. Let's talk about the 22 caliber staple gun. Now, I'm not referring to that tool you lazily use at your desk. This is some next-level prison weapon. Back in the day, one inmate took the concept of a regular staple gun and turned it into something out of a James Bond flick. The tool, originally designed for stapling thick stacks of paper, was brilliantly re-engineered to fire off 22 caliber bullets. Talk about an office supply glow-up. You might ask, how is that even possible? Well, with some dark ingenuity, the staple gun's mechanism, which packs enough punch to drive staples through papers and into wood, was used as the pistol's lower. Combine that with a crafted tin can frame and barrel for the upper, and voila, you've got a bullet-firing beast. It's an incredible display of craftiness and bold audacity. Of course, when this DIY firearm was discovered at Folsom State Prison, it sent shockwaves through the prison system. We're talking about turning a Monday morning office tool into a concealed weapon. It shows just how far some inmates will stretch their creativity to turn everyday items into weapons. Number 3, 22 caliber cap gun. There's a tale floating around from Connecticut State Prison that's straight up wild. You ready? Let's dive in. Remember those 22 caliber cap guns we used to play with as kids? Well, someone had a brainwave and decided to give it a new life, a life on the dark side. Our story heroes, or villains, depending on how you see it, are a pair of high schoolers. Not content with just acing their math tests or scheming about prom, these two got crafty in a whole different way. Their mission? Sneak some firepower to their fam in the slammer, but not just with any weapon. No. They MacGyvered a regular cap gun into a legit zip gun. Here's the blueprint. Grab a cap gun, swap in a pipe barrel, like who even thinks of that? Add a chunky rubber band for that bang, and then wrap the whole thing in medical tape. Voila! From toy to terror, just like that. It's kinda mind-boggling, honestly. Just goes to show human creativity knows no bounds. Especially when there's a pinch of mischief in the mix. It also serves as a reminder to always keep an eye out when in prison, as everyday objects can suddenly become headline news. Next time you reminisce about childhood toys, remember this Connecticut caper. Number 2, double-barreled pistol. There's this story from 1984 that's wilder than mullets and neon leotards. We're talking a detour from the pop charts and heading straight into JVA Cell, a high-security prison located in Lower Saxony, Germany. The star of our story, a double-barreled pistol made by inmates. Now, imagine being in a prison's metal workshop. You're supposed to be making, I don't know, barbed wires or something. But a couple of crafty inmates, they looked at those tools and thought, why not make a double-barreled beast? And man, did they deliver. On November 15, 1984, during a cell check, the guards stumbled upon this DIY firepower alongside other homemade toys. But here's the kicker. Instead of traditional bullets, these bad boys were packed with steel pieces and match heads. Talk about a spicy combo. Makes you wonder what was going through their minds, huh? Like, hey, Bob, got some spare steel and matches? Let's craft a pistol. It's kind of impressive in a totally bonkers way. This cell prison discovery just shows how crafty some inmates can be. When folks have time, tools, and a touch of rebellion, they're able to whip something that is sure to drop your jaw. Number 1, 12-gauge slam-fire shotgun club. And lastly, let's talk about a story straight out of Brazil, and it's wilder than the carnival parade. So, prisons around the world have seen some pretty funky DIY weapons, right? But Brazil, they're on a whole other level with this one. A 12-gauge slam-fire shotgun that moonlights as a club. To say it's deceptive is an understatement. You think it's just an ordinary club, but out of nowhere, it fires off a 12-gauge shell. And just in case that blast didn't do its job, swing that bad boy around and you've got yourself a trusty club. It's without a doubt one of the most versatile prison weapons ever created. This crafty creation was nabbed in a Brazilian prison, and it's proof of just how creative and kind of terrifying folks can get when they've got time and determination. Using the element of surprise, this 2-in-1 weapon could both fire off a round and then, in a pinch, switch to melee mode. It's wild, thinking about the brains behind this gadget. Like, who sits around and thinks, you know what'd be cool? A shotgun that doubles as a club. Only in Brazil, man. So, there you have it. The 12-gauge slam-fire shotgun, the ultimate proof that necessity, creativity, and a touch of madness can cook up some seriously wild stuff in prison. Inmates and innovations, folks, there's something else. That's all I have for you in this video. If you know of other improvised weapons built in prison, feel free to comment below. If this video was entertaining, please like, share, subscribe, and click on the little notification bell too while you're down there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.